Hey y'all, it's Brandon. So tonight, I'm gonna show you what went wrong with this and what I'm gonna replace it with. So here's the original track bar. You can kind of see here where the bend was. It knocked the paint off. It's got some fatigue on the metal there. I don't know if you can see it in the video or not. We'll lay it on top of the new Overland ultra heavy duty track bar. You can see how far it bent, and it's this part that bent and shoved this whole thing down. So the way he's got them bent and cut, I'll be able to weld this bushing straight on. You line that bend up with the bushing there. The bend matches, and the whole line's right up. I opted to have a drilled track bar. That way I can install a threaded bung into the track bar, and I can adjust it out for extra length when I need it. Let's talk about Overland's track bar. It's solid, 1.25 inch, 1018 cold rolled steel. Again, I opted to have it drilled. What he sells does not come drilled, it comes solid. So you weld your bushing on both ends. Once you have that length set doing the swap, you don't have to adjust it ever. The reason why I went with the drilled track bar, I eventually plan on adding more lift for bigger tires, and adding more lift, I will need to extend this just a little bit. So I wanted that drilled so I could thread a bushing in and out. The bracket I used on the frame is a Barnes 4-wheel drive bracket, but I modified it, highly modified it, chopped it up to make it short, but I'm using a 2-inch Barnes bushing that I weld onto the Overland track bar. Now Overland sells a full kit. You don't have to piece it together. He has everything. So this track bar was a first generation track bar. This was the first track bar that was ever sold. And to be 100% clear, this one is not sold anymore. You cannot buy this track bar anymore. I don't fault the builder for it. And I think as long as it would have stayed on the road, I never would have had a problem out of it. I knew that this was a possibility when I bought it. I also knew that Overland sold this upgrade. So let's go back to this track bar. This track bar is 1.25 inches, 120 wall. I believe it's DOM. So let's talk about how I bent it. This side mounts to the axle and this side mounts to the frame. So it sits in the truck like this. And then the suspension goes up and down to control the axle side to side. So what I was doing, I was backing down the side of a lake at a pretty steep angle. I won't say this is level ground. The angle was about probably a pretty good angle like that. I backed off in about a 2-foot washout on the passenger side front axle, and it tried to shove the whole front end sideways, which in turn tries to shove the axle to the driver's side. So with the weight of the Suburban dropping off of the washout, and it's such an extreme angle already, it tried to shove the axle towards the driver's side and bent it here. Now I drove it 200 miles home like that. At first I thought something in my steering slipped, the reason why my steering wheel was off a quarter of a turn, but it ended up being this. But this is now a wall hanger. All right, so I just now realized I never finished the video that you just got through watching. So as you can see, the truck is done. I got the track bar put back on. I lined it, got everything straight on it, and looks pretty good. I'll drive it in here and just give you a peek of what it looks like. So we'll climb underneath here and look. You're probably gonna hear some kids playing in the background, and they're probably gonna play some music. But neighbor kids, I'm not gonna tell them to shut up so I can make a video. Well, first off, my steering box leaking, but I got the new track bar on. Close enough to a land. Go underneath here and take a look and see. That's the barn's four-wheel drive track bracket. And there's the barn's bushing in there. You can see how I really chopped that barn's bushing up. And don't mind the don't mind the hose clamp on my bump stop. So as you can tell, I had to trim the front part of the bump stop bracket so I could allow this track bar bolt to slide out. I gotta pull my bump stop and slide the track bar out, so it's not that big a deal, but just don't mind that. And then on this end down here, the threaded bung was for 1.5 inches, quarter wall tubing, and I welded it into there, and I still have maybe half threads in the bushing on this side, so that's pretty good. I was worried that it was going to be too short and I was only going to have about 1 inch of thread left, or a little less than 1 inch of thread left, but it turned out I got a little more than 1 inch of thread left in there, so I'm happy with that. My original plans are to go ahead and cut this back a little more, put in a left-hand thread weld-in bung, and use a ladder adjuster. That way I can adjust the bushing that way. That would make aligning it easier, and it would allow me to have full thread engagement on the bushing and on the ladder adjuster. So that's something else I'm going to do. So that's all the new stuff I have on the track bar. Like I said, I got the track bar put in. I got the front end lined, and as you could tell when I was pulling the truck forwards and I drove over the phone, you could hear the bottom end knocking. So that's my next project. I'm gonna pull the oil pan off and see what's loose underneath there. Hopefully it's just rod bearings, and I can swap out rod bearings and drive it. Well, that's what I'm gonna do anyway. Something I've never done. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share if you would, please. It'd help me out a lot. Thanks. Y'all have a good evening.